Hello, my name is Cynthia, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. I'm happy to be here with you today to talk to you about my stitching, to show you some of the things I've been working on, one thing that I finished and one thing that I previously finished, and just to check in and show you my progress. I've had a lot of fun stitching on some really pretty projects this last half of the month, and some of those you saw. I shared my Though He Seemeth Sleeping sampler on a Stitch With Me video that a lot of you had tuned in to watch. Thank you so much. I always feel a little bit nervous when I step out on a new direction with a tag video that I didn't create. It was actually Jen and Theresa Lanette from Kitten Stitcher and Jen's Stitching Niche 4 years ago. I said in the video it was 2 or 3, but it was 4 years ago they created this tag of 20 questions, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'd encourage you to go back and look at it. It's just a lot of fun stitchy talk and sharing favorites and sharing stitching knowledge and fun. So if you also would like to participate in that tag, I left a hashtag in that video and I'll link it below as well. I'd like to have a few others participate. I'm not sure if everyone wants to film a stitch with me, but if you are a Flosstube creator, then consider just sitting down and sharing those answers. I think it would be fun. It helps us to get to know one another a little better as well. This last week I did have a little break in my stitching because I attended a wedding for my nephew. I was gonna, instead of editing, I was gonna show a picture. There's their invitation. That's my nephew Ben, my brother's son. So he has a hair a lot like my son, and he's just a really sweet guy. So I'm really happy to celebrate their marriage. He's a little young, but they are both very grounded, so I feel like they'll have a happy life and a good chance. Speaking of celebrating love, I wanted to show a previous finish that I'm going back 2 years now on my finishes because I just did a finish parade of all of 2021's finishes. So this was actually even more than 2 years. This is was it 2019? This is a 2019 finish. I started it in 2018, but it took me a long time. This was, I think, the second or third piece I ever stitched, and I learned a lot. It's called, I don't even put it in the frame. It's called Love Never Fails by Brenda Designs. We just show it for a second and then I'll peek back in. And it celebrated my husband and I from our wedding date of 1996, 25 years last year. And I personalized our cats on there and changed our eyes and hair color. And part of why I thought of this piece was the finish I'm about to show you. I did the same thing with her face. If you see the lady on my Barbara Anna interpretation, I guess, it's much more not lifelike, but it's got some more color to it. The original piece almost has like zombie people and the fabric that was called for is like a dirty linen. I did this on a tea-dyed Monaco. It even has like some kind of antique-y blotches on it, which I would do things differently now, but I didn't know back then what I didn't know. So I did the best I could with what I had, and I love it. I do love it. It hangs outside of my bedroom generally. Sometimes I put it out in the autumn for part of my autumn display because the colors are just so pretty. In fact, it kind of inspired me to redecorate my living room with those terracottas and mustards and sage greens. And a little bit of turquoise. I love it. So there's the Love Never Fails by Barbara Anna. Oh, did I say I personalized our cats? Sometimes I stop mid-sentence and don't finish my thought. But I personalized our cats and added in our initials. And there's lots of mistakes through here, but I won't point them out. I'll just say it's a very ambitious stitch. There's a lot to it, as a lot of Barbara Anna's are. A lot of detail. but so well worth it. I love that quilt kind of border at the bottom. And I found this frame at Goodwill. I stained it myself with a Java stain so that all of my frames kind of coordinate for the most part. And yeah, it's a good one. If you are interested, I found it on Creative Poppies as a download, and it's also on 123 Stitch, and a lot of other retailers have it. But it reminded me, like I said, of my needle and thread piece that I just finished this morning. I had hoped it would just take me a couple hours to stitch this, and I don't know, little details, all the little leaves and the scissors and the little stars at the top. I thought I'll be done with this in a couple hours, and I just finished it like 30 minutes ago. And in fact, I didn't have time to fix my nails. Let me try to hide those because I've got a chip nail here. This is my needleworker finish. I love it so much. It has the antique buttons that I showed you a couple of videos back from Azel Antique Mall, and they are perfect. I wasn't even thinking about this piece. I forgot it had buttons. But look how grungy they are. This one I left, which one? This one here. I left the original thread that was on the button, like it had been ripped off of someone's clothing. And so I love the way it turned out. I really wanted to have it completely finished for y'all, but like I said, I'm running out of time. And so I just ironed it, sewed on the buttons, and I am maybe going to subtitle this video Stitching for the Frame, or Stitching for a Frame, because this piece is very much personalized to fit this frame. It doesn't have an indent on the back. I might even have to holler at a friend who did the same frame and get a little refresher, and I'll try to take some pictures as I do it. But I think I'm going to have to lace this on a piece that's similar to the inset of this, and then then take another piece and glue them almost like a sandwich. I'm also going to put some batting under her and make sure that she's a little bit poofy. So, but I intended to stitch her for this frame for so long and just now finished her. Her face, like I said, is very different, kind of like my Barbara Anna piece. The original by Brenda Gervais is almost a little angry looking, I thought. She kind of has almost a scowl on her face. And when I do needlework, I smile. So I changed her, and I also liked her to have a little bit more of a feminine eyebrow, not such a heavy brow. I like her the original way too. She's real funky, and I think that's one of the things that appealed. Of course, I changed this so much with the spacing. It wasn't going to fit in the frame, and so I had moved the spools in quite a bit. I counted like, I think 16 stitches out from her skirt, and then just to try to center it, I had drawn a line around the piece and made sure that everything fit before I finished. It's a 36 count vintage country mocha. It's part of my Hawk Run Hollow that I'll show you in a little bit. In fact, it's the bottom piece. It was enough. It's not a huge stitch. I want to say it's like 180 by 200, but it's more than I thought. When I saw this, I thought, well, it's a small little piece, but that skirt is no joke. I went through almost a whole skein of Color and Cotton Bracken. I actually bought, no, I didn't even. I went through maybe half of a skein, but I bought another one thinking, oh, I might run out. And then sure enough, I had plenty. But I love the way it variegated. The original is more of like a, I'm not sure what that floss was. I think it's just like a brown tan, but I just wanted a little more contrast with her. I wanted her to have almost like a denim skirt. And I initially had thought she would be a companion to another piece that's blue, but I'm going to put her somewhere different, so it doesn't really matter now. But I love the way she turned out. I changed the flowers to just some floss I had in my pile of Prairie Schooler colors. I think I used 422 and what's the darker gold? 422 and 3828. And then the red is called Indian Summer by Weeks Dye Works. And I just thought it turned out so pretty. It has some over one on the needle that I didn't catch until the end. I just made the eye over one. The actual needle is thicker, but it reminds me of the little petite needle that I used to stitch a lot of this. And it has some like long stitching, or like just straight stitches there to make the thread go over onto her skirt like it's blowing in the wind. And then it has some long or straight stitches on the tomato that goes down to the little strawberry. I did add satin stitch to the threads. I don't think they were called for. It was supposed to be just stitches, but I like the way satin stitches look on a spool, and I changed the color of that bird. In fact, I stitched him halfway and picked up another color to start, and it wasn't the same color, but I thought, oh, I kind of like that. He almost has like a peacock color. It's Charcoal by Weeks Dye Works, and I think Chesapeake by Weeks as well, maybe Classic. Just a teal. It sounds kind of funny when I say my favorite colors are red and teal, but this is how I like red and teal. A little bit more muted. And I'm not sure I would pick the same colors as I did when I started this in 2019, but I am so happy to have it off of my WIP list. It was a mania start from 2019, one of those that just hung on for so long, and I'm so thrilled with the way it came out. So thank you for letting me share that with you. Let me get out the other things that I didn't quite finish, but got a lot of work, and I'll share this with you as well. Okay, I said I shared my sampler, though He Seemeth, on the last video I filmed. It was kind of an in-between quill, 50.5 Flosstube with a Stitch With Me tag, but here is Though He Seemeth, if you didn't catch that, by Lucy Beam in Stitches, Love in Stitches, which is Becky Noland, who recently moved to Texas, I believe. I love her quirky sense of design on her original pieces, and then I loved this reproduction. I got quite a bit done. I was really happy. This is actually where I ended on my video. I thought I would have time to do more, but that silly thing took forever to load, so I didn't get any more stitching done that day, but I basically just need to fill up this upper left quadrant, and I hope I can do that in my next stitching rotation and then be finished with it. I actually, like I said, stitching to the frame is a theme in this video. I found a frame about a week ago at Goodwill, and it has a little bit of damage where it was stored, but I just want to kind of put some dark paint over that and leave it in the same contrasty frame. And I wait until I'm almost done to kind of see what frame I want to put it in, because sometimes I have to do a little bit of a change. Oops, that's upside down. I had it right side the first time. What I did on this one in particular was add one more swirl, and I already showed this on Instagram, so pardon me if you've seen it, but you can see how it's going to be a perfect fit, if not even just a little bit snug. But I'd rather it be too snug than I was going to have a gap of about that big at the top, and to me that's just not my favorite. I have a few ways to address that, but in this instance, sorry, I've got a cat scratching back there. In this instance, I just added one more swirl at the top, which isn't just a couple stitches, that's about 8 stitches. I think I counted, and I did make like a little line up here with my friction pin, so it goes straight to the top. I kind of outlined the frame and just stitched until I reached that line. My friend Lanette on Homesteading on the Home Front, she hasn't made a video in a while, but she has lots of fun videos if you want to check her out. She stitches to the frame, and she uses math. I think she's a math teacher. So she kind of gives me a hard time sometimes, but I basically just eyeball things. In fact, when I got to this lettering, what I had to do, since my stitches went about 6 stitches higher, was just kind of eyeball where the middle was. In fact, I kind of talked that out when I'm filming the Stitch With Me, and it just kind of ended up being centered to my eye. Like, I probably could have done it more exactly, but I think it's going to work out fine. And I'm thrilled to find this frame for $3. This fabric is 32 count, and it's Mystery Linen by Victorian Motto Sampler. Whoops, that fell over. And so it's just a beige kind of golden color. I don't think it would be very hard to reproduce. You could even use Vintage Country Mocha or another kind of golden color. And my threads, I've had a lot of people asking about. I did use her list. She has a bunch of different options. Like this one says your colors, but with the symbols so that you can add them in. But kind of like I do, I don't really have a symbol for symbol substitution. So here's a list of what I did use. I hope my handwriting's legible. But I know, change a few of those. Like I had crab cakes listed, and I ended up not using that. Concord and a few other DMCs I changed, but and like the anchor 849, I didn't end up using that. If it has a question mark by it, I may not have used it. But I will try to list at the very end of the project, because like I said, I'm still not done. All the threads that I did use, several people said they didn't really care for the way the colors they picked came out on Rebecca's conversions. And I think what you have to do is kind of pick and choose from all the options she gives you. Some of her purples were very bright, like Concord looked very bright to me. But I used Merlin, and it's a purple, but it's really, really dark. And so, you know, you might kind of have to choose from the DMC and what you have on stash. I always look at the picture really closely and just say, what does that look like to me? You know, that looks kind of like an orangey red, and so I went with Campfire. Or those leaves look a little bit more like a burnt orange, and so I just kind of pick sometimes and don't always follow. But the Cognac is a really pretty color, and the Campfire from Classic Colorworks. So if you do like the colors, those were some of the key ones. As well as Frankie's Wicked Stepmother, I used this Hey Jude, which kind of reminds me of Bracken as I look at it, but it's a little bit darker. I wanted a lot of blue in there because I just like the combination of blue and orange. So that's Though He Seemeth. Thank you for letting me share that progress, even though I kind of already did, in case you missed that other video. Another one I stitched for a frame to stay in theme here. I did pull out my Stacy Nash Primitives Spotted Pig Pinkeep. I wanted to get back to this. It was a mania start, and I love this little sample, or this little Pinkeep, but it was too big to me to be a Pinkeep. I actually stitched it on 40 count thinking that oh, it'll be a better size for a pillow, and I could make this a pillow, but I changed my mind a while ago and decided I want this on my farm wall. I finished the rest of the flowers on that urn. I don't think I'd started that. I worked on that one flower and basically just kind of sketched in all the border, how I was going to use it, because in the frame that I found, in fact, it had a picture of, sorry, Roxy, just hit my cat. I had a picture of my baby girl in here, but I had actually a repeat of it. It was from my mom's house, and I had two photos. So I used the other frame for Anna's picture as a baby, and I took this one and stained it with my Java, the same one I used on my Barbara Anna piece. It looks a little different because it's on different based wood. I actually used black and brown, so it's a little darker, I think, but I darkened this from a chalk white. I just feel like the dark colors kind of show the detail a little better, and this is a very ornate frame. I like to do that contrast, that juxtaposition of a very fine frame. I've done this before with like my Reverend Gordon Squash Bottom with a very primitive piece. I just think they set each other off really well. Now, I don't think it's going to center perfectly top to bottom, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet, but because I started this before I had the frame, I could have adjusted it more to go down, but I had added one more zigzag on the bottom to make it fit side to side, which makes me happy. So that way it'll be centered side to side, and I just, like I said, I added one more flower here at the bottom. So I'm going to have another one over here, and when I go up, I don't have enough fabric to make it fit lengthwise. I have enough, I didn't start it low enough. I have enough fabric, but I didn't start it low enough, and there's really no going back from that. So I am eliminating one of the pigs, and I'm having to recenter things. So the way I did it, I did the urn and the pig, and then I did this side and the pig, and I'm gonna just kind of count in from there and put Mama Pig in the middle. So she's not stitched off of any of the other anchors that you would have if you followed the pattern. I'm just kind of eyeballing where she's gonna fit. And because this is a primitive piece, it doesn't have a lot, I mean, they're just elements that are laid in there. They're not connected in a way that has to be connected. In fact, I cut off that top border because I didn't think it showed up very well, and I was like, I'm trying to get this done. I don't want to do more stitching that's not absolutely necessary. So I'm cutting off that top zigzag border. I am going to say, I think Mama in that little placard or banner there, and instead of pigs. And I'm really excited to get it done, but I love the decision with this frame. I think it's going to look so pretty on my farm wall. It's going to be a different fabric, but a similar frame, so it's going to really set it off. So that is my Whip Go part 1. I still have work to do on my other design. I'm finding that I'm just a slow stitcher, and when I have family obligations and things come up, and you know, you have to make choices with your time, so I'm not going to be able to get all my Whip Go goals met, but I'll just change them because it's my Whip Go board, right? In that vein, this one was supposed to be done. I hoped to get block 8, or is it block 9? No, it's block 8. And I've got it pinned here. Block 8 finished for me, but my goodness, I spent a lot of time on that fire in Village of Hawkrun Hollow. That's what I'm showing you if you're new here. This is on 36 count vintage country mocha, the same fabric that I used for my needleworker. In fact, this is just the bottom of that same fat half that I bought when I started Hawkrun Hollow. It doesn't need a fat half, but it's far enough that you can't order a fat quarter if you do 36 count. So a fat half has given me quite a few projects off of it, and I am using 2 strands over 2, which is not what a lot of people prefer, but look at the vibrancy of it. Now, if you did this on a 40 with 1 strand, you would get this more vibrant look, most likely, or even maybe a 46, because it's very vibrant. It's like I don't even want to show you the back. It's like a carpet back there. It's very dense. In fact, on these pieces where the houses come together, or like on these rows here, it gets a little bit tight. I have to really watch my tension, and I'm trying to do better. I can see the progress of my stitching over 3 years' time, because that's how long I've been working on this. It does get a little looser as I get more experience, but you know, it's just a lot of thread fitting through there too. So I finished that fire, and I striped all the green and yellow, started up here with these horseshoes and these words, and there's little horses kind of just suspended around. So I'm close. Here's that block where it says Nathan Huffer, and I am using that name. I personalized some of the names on here, but I didn't really want to do all of them, so I'm just using the name as charted. And like I said, I still have the horses at the top, but I finished all of the building, which that's just a lot of fill-in. That bottom row of all those stitches, I still have just a little bit more, but that takes a long time, especially with all the counting, because it's not just a straight block, it's a harlequin pattern, and you have to, and it's not even. Some of it's lower, some of it's higher. You have to really watch it. But I'm anxious to start. I think I'm going down next. There's a lot of words on this block. In fact, I went and bought some more thread. I'll show you in a little bit to start all of these letters here. And it looks like I might kind of circle around and finish in the middle. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I really like the way that has turned out, and my goal is to finish this year. I just really want to move on to some other things, and I feel like this one's kind of hanging out, waiting to get done. So anyway, thank you for letting me share my Hawkrun Hollow village. I know you might have seen it so many times. I hope you're not tired of it. I'm a little tired of it, to be honest, but I love it. And so it's always fun to look at it in that way. That's all of the things I worked on. Let me show you just a few things that I got in the mail, and a couple things I bought, not stitching related, but artsy related, and then a couple books at the end, and we'll be finished. Thanks. Okay, I got a couple of sweet packages from dear friends that I've met through Flosstube that have just become so special to me as time goes by. Frankie from A Wicked Stepmother sent me just a beautiful little card and one little yellow floss for spring. I love that, Frankie. It's hard to find a good yellow that's got some really good variegation. Y'all can check her out on Etsy. Yellow Moon is the name of that one. And if she doesn't have a lot in her store, just check back. She is always doing new things to check out. And then I had struck a deal with my good friend Helen D to swap our Lizzie Kates. I've kind of done this ladder where I'm switching out my rules, and now I'm switching out jingles for Halloween Rules with Helen, and I'm already putting some of Frankie's flosses in there. She didn't send those, these are from Frankie, but Helen sent me all of her jingles that she just finished, and I'm sending her all of my rules. She also sent me the sweetest card, and then this beautiful, we like to, we both like embellishments and finishing. That's kind of our connection, I think. And so she sent me some beautiful Lady Dot things and some 2022 charms. Thank you so much, Helen. And I have a whole pile of things ready to send to her. It's so fun to swap. And Helen is just so sweet to check on me and send me cards with my loss of my mom. Just a really, really sweet lady. Thank you both, Frankie and Helen. And then I did make it into Silver Needle while I was going to my nephew's wedding. Of course, going into Tulsa, I had to kind of sneak in and find an excuse to run in, but I was very good. I looked at all the charts. I did not buy a chart. Looking at everything I have to stitch, that's perfectly fine, but I stitched straight through almost all of my cognac, so I picked that up. I had actually used that for my sunflower garden piece last summer, so there wasn't a full skein, and I'm going to need a full skein. I got some steamed broccoli for my Let It Snow bungalow. That's the color I'm using for the leaves, and I'm almost out of that. Again, that was one I had borrowed from another project. And then I got Lagoon, one of my absolute favorite threads from Gentle Arts, for my Hawthorne Hollow, and that's what I've used for all the different lettering. It's kind of varied, but it variegates really nice. I think she just calls for a dark green blue, and the DMC, I didn't find a real nice equivalent for all of the lettering on my Hawthorne Hollow Village, so Lagoon is a good one if you're thinking about doing that project. And then this is a little bit of a problem. I was going to show you my brown bear border looks so different from the piece I used to stitch what I already have done. And so, and I looked through that. She had 20 skeins of Lindy did at Silver Needle, and they all were so dark, and I was just like, oh crud, I've already, here's how much I have left. Here's my brown bear, which I don't know if you can tell, it has a lot of more of the caramelly kind of color. And then here's the new one. Wah, wah. It's got so much dark gray in it. See the difference between mine? And so on my border, I mean, there's a lot of variegation, so that's okay. But I'm gonna, and since I'm using 2 strands, I'll just have to kind of feather it in with the little bit I have left, and it's gonna be a little bit different. But that's okay. I know it's a hand-dyed process. I just kind of shook my head like, oh man, I should have bought 2 skeins. If you're doing 32 count, get 2 skeins of your border, whatever you decide to do. If it's brown bear as called or another, get 2 skeins if you're using 2 strands, because I'm not even gonna have close to enough. So I was glad to get those. And I also picked up some petite needles. I was talking about how I like those in my last video, and I had run out. These John James ones are a little rough. They're not as smooth as the last ones. I think I got Mary Arden petites. I can't remember the last petite brand I had, but these John James ones, they're okay. Like I said, they're kind of nice for really getting every bit of your thread used, but that brand was not my favorite. So that's what I got at Silver Needle. And then I had one other thing I wanted to share. This is kind of weird, but I like to do paper crafts. I've shared some of the ones I've done in the past. I might share more later, but maybe not. But I picked up these graphic printables from an artist I found. I've kind of gone down this rabbit hole of junk journaling. I know there are a few other floss tubers like Jen, the calculated stitcher. She does some, but speaking of little mini writers, I thought of this with my love of birds and vintage pictures. This artist is out of Austria. Her wording is in English. I think she has it in both English or German, but her accent is very heavy. I'll link her channel below, Louisa Heinzel, which is actually her pseudonym she shared in her video yesterday or the day before. Her name is something that she uses on YouTube to honor her grandparents, and she's really, really talented digital artist and junk journaler. So I encourage you to check her out if you're interested in any way in that kind of thing. And this download was just a couple dollars. I hope to make some pretty gifts and pen pal things to send to some friends. So just a fun purchase there. And then the last thing I wanted to share, You can skip ahead a couple minutes if you don't like books, but a lot of my viewers are readers too. These were from my mom, and I had picked up a few while I was at her house, and I wanted to share some favorites. I just bought this book for her birthday. It still had a bookmark. Yeah, she had just written some scripture and put it as a bookmark in here where she was. But we were rereading this. Hiding Place is a classic by Corrie ten Boom, who was a survivor of the Holocaust. She was, I think, Dutch, and was put in the camps, and her story is just amazing. I read it a long time ago, and I'd been meaning to pick up another copy. I have my grandmother's copy, but it's kind of falling apart. She wrote letters, my grandma, my mom's mom, Trudy, she wrote letters to Corrie in the back about how much she loved her book, and I thought, that's so neat. I want to annotate my books a little bit more, like, thank you for saying this, or this really meant something to me. But she wrote a book, Dear Corrie, you meant so much to me, thank you for sharing your, it was like a whole letter, and I treasure that. So this is my mom's copy that I just bought her that she didn't get to finish, but now I can. And so I wanted to add that to my list. And then also this book my mom bought for me for Christmas. I wish I had her sign it. I don't think she did, but she bought it Christmas 2020. And I follow Liz Marie Galvin on Instagram and have for years. And my mom found this book in a store, and she said, oh, that looks like Cynthia's style. And it is. It definitely is kind of grungy and antique, and just lots of fun. Look at that card catalog. Lots of fun decor. But I also really appreciate Liz Marie's message of using what you have. And she was kind of, I was reading through this and actually, because I've looked at the pictures several times, so I was actually reading some of the text and just reminding myself to not wait for the perfect time to do projects that you've always wanted to do around your home, or you know, even in life, just projects that you are things you've wanted to always tackle, but you're afraid, or you're nervous, or you think it's not the right time. And some things will never be the right time. If you want to accomplish something, that's what it was like for me with cross stitch. You know, I didn't wait for someone to teach me. I just dove in and tried it. And a lot of y'all have said to me things like, oh, I don't think I could do those complicated samplers, or, oh, you know, that's a big piece that is really intimidating. And you're right, it is. But never, you know, waiting for the perfect time and just trying stuff, trying something new, and is a good lesson for all of us, I think. So this is a wonderful book. Cozy White Cottage. She, I think, is writing her second. This one is older, but I liked reading all of the things that she had to say about, I think that premise is 100 ways to love the feeling of being home. And that is something I strive for, to make a comfortable home that is welcoming and comfortable and cozy, not perfect, not expensive, but just using what I have. So I'm going to share a little bit more of that as we go through the year. I have several projects that this book was encouraging me to just go for it. I need to rip the carpet out of my front room. It's terrible. And I'm intimidated by that, and it's going to take me a while to get it put back, but it drives me crazy, and I need to get it out. And I need to finish painting a lot of spaces in my home that are really grungy. I just need to get that cleaned up and do it. So it was a reminder to me. I hope you find it a good book too if you want to try it. And over the next month, or the rest of the month, I hope to work on the last part of my cross stitch kind of capsule that I work through, the same pieces, Hollyberry Farm, Let It Snow Bungalow, a few of those. And I will be sharing those in my next video. I may do a Sew a Bunny stitch along. If you're interested in any way in that, let me know. I'm actually going to do a pattern I've already done before, and I ended up giving away, well, there goes Roxy. I've ended up giving away all the rabbits, so I wanted to make some more for myself. So I might do that, but let me know if you're interested at all. I might just do that on my own. So thanks again for letting me share, and for your encouragement and kindness, for all the ways that being a part of this needlework community is such a blessing. And leave any comments below if you have questions. I'll talk to you soon. As I say at the end, I almost forgot. As I say at the end of all my videos, in the book of Psalms, chapter 90, verse 17, it says, may the favor of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish the work of our hands. Have a great rest of the month.